In an era dominated by two basketball titans, one ruling the East, the other the West, no one dared to challenge their reign. For years, the NBA was their kingdom, and all others waited in line. But then, a player and his team did the unthinkable. They disrupted the dynasty, reshaped the game, and made the heir to the throne bide his time. This is the story of the man who dared to defy the order, leading a revolution that forever altered basketball. From two kings, there were suddenly three. Yet, despite his monumental achievements, he remains the most underappreciated superstar in basketball history. This is the tale of Isiah Thomas, the only back-to-back champion who emerged when such a feat seemed impossible, with the Celtics and Lakers dominating the league. Isiah Thomas's 1989 and 1990 championships ended the Lakers and Celtics' dominance, symbolizing more than just a shift in power. His reign marked a transformative moment in basketball, changing the rules, the way the game is played, and how it's viewed. This secured his legacy in history. However, to grasp the true magnitude of his reign, one must understand the era he ruled and the fierce battles he fought to claim his crown. Chapter 1. The dominance of the Titans. The 80s was defined by the dominance of two legendary players, Larry Bird and Magic Johnson. During this decade, the NBA became synonymous with their intense rivalry, which not only captivated fans, but also elevated the league's popularity to new heights. Together, Bird and Magic's teams, the Boston Celtics and the Los Angeles Lakers, accounted for 8 of the 10 championships in that era, with the Lakers winning 5 titles and the Celtics 3. Magic Johnson, with his unmatched court vision and versatility, led the Showtime Lakers, who played a fast-paced, high-scoring style that revolutionized the game. His leadership was instrumental in guiding the Lakers to 5 championships in 1980, 1982, 1985, 1987, and 1988. Magic's rivalry with Larry Bird, a fierce competitor with a lethal shooting touch, defined the NBA's golden era. Bird's Celtics secured championships in 1981, 1984, and 1986, showcasing a more physical, defense-oriented style of play that was the perfect counter to the Lakers' flash. This rivalry transcended basketball, becoming a cultural phenomenon that contributed to the NBA's growth into a global powerhouse. The Celtics-Lakers clashes in the finals were must-watch events, drawing massive television audiences and fueling debates among fans about which player was truly the greatest. What's often overlooked, though, is how Bird and Magic saved the NBA at a time when the league was struggling with low ratings, declining attendance, and a tarnished image. Their rivalry injected excitement into the sport, making every matchup between their teams a spectacle. Beyond their individual talents, their contrasting styles of play and personalities made their rivalry compelling. Bird, the gritty, blue-collar player from Indiana, embodied the hard-nosed ethos of the Celtics, while Magic, the charismatic and dynamic playmaker, epitomized the glamour of Hollywood and the Lakers. The grip the Lakers and Celtics had on the league was too much. Isiah Thomas was made to wait his turn, but this gave him and the team time to reinforce and redefine their game plan. One man who couldn't wait any longer was Dr. J. He was the only one to fight his way to the only championship ring in his finger. He had to have one way or the other. This is Dr. J we're talking about. Chapter 2. Dr. J's fight for his ring. Julius Dr. J. Irving is one of the most iconic figures in basketball history, was known for his dazzling dunks, acrobatic plays, and the elegance with which he dominated the game. Yet, for all his brilliance, there was one glaring absence in his career: a championship ring. Despite his individual greatness, team success at the highest level eluded him during his early years in the NBA. Dr. J's first taste of a title came in the ABA, where he led the New York Nets to championships in 1974 and 1976. However, after the ABA-NBA merger, the competition intensified, and Irving found himself competing against powerhouse teams like the Boston Celtics and Los Angeles Lakers. The ringless legacy seemed set to haunt him, as even his exceptional play couldn't lift the Philadelphia 76ers past these juggernauts. But in 1983, everything changed. Determined to secure his place among the game's all-time greats, Dr. J led the 76ers to a dominant 65-17 season, capped by an unstoppable playoff run. With the addition of Moses Malone, who famously predicted a clean sweep through the playoffs, the 76ers swept the Lakers in the finals, and Dr. J finally got his championship ring. It was the culmination of years of near misses and heartbreaks, a title that cemented his legacy as a winner. His lone NBA championship was more than just a victory, it was a necessity. For a player of his stature, anything less would have felt incomplete. He needed that ring, not just to validate his career, but to solidify his place in the pantheon of basketball legends. Like I said, he had to have it. Chapter 3. Isiah's Grueling Climb. Isiah Thomas, on the other hand, entered the NBA in 1981 as the second overall pick, joining a Detroit Pistons team that was far from championship contention. Despite his undeniable talent and leadership, Thomas quickly realized that success in the NBA would not come easily. The league at the time was dominated by the Los Angeles Lakers and Boston Celtics, two powerhouse teams led by Magic Johnson and Larry Bird, respectively. For nearly a decade, these teams ruled the NBA, with both winning multiple championships and establishing a stranglehold on the league. Thomas and the Pistons had to endure a grueling climb to the top, facing relentless competition from these dynasties. The path to the finals was blocked year after year by teams that were not just talented but battle-hardened and experienced. The Pistons' growth as a team was slow and painful, marked by early playoff exits and a reputation as tough competitors, but not true contenders. One of the most significant obstacles in Thomas's path was the Boston Celtics. In the mid-1980s, the Celtics were at their peak, with Bird, Kevin McHale, and Robert Parrish forming a formidable frontcourt. From 1985 to 1987, the Pistons faced the Celtics in the playoffs, with each series becoming increasingly competitive and physical. The 1987 Eastern Conference Finals was a defining moment for Thomas and the Bad Boys Pistons, as they pushed the Celtics to 7 games but fell short due to a critical turnover by Thomas that led to Larry Bird's famous steal. Even when the Pistons managed to overcome the Celtics, the Lakers loomed large as another insurmountable barrier. In 1988, the Pistons finally broke through to reach the NBA Finals, where they faced Magic Johnson's Lakers. The series was a battle of wills, with the Pistons pushing the Lakers to the brink in a grueling 7-game series. However, despite Thomas's heroic performance in Game 6, where he scored 25 points in the third quarter on a severely sprained ankle, the Pistons fell just short, losing in a heartbreaking Game 7. The 1988 Finals loss was devastating, but it was also the final chapter in Thomas's long wait for a championship. The near miss only fueled the Pistons' determination, and they returned the following year with even greater resolve. Chapter 4. The pivotal 1989 NBA Finals. The 1989 NBA Finals marked a pivotal moment in basketball history, as the Detroit Pistons swept the Los Angeles Lakers to claim their first NBA championship. This victory not only secured the Pistons' place among the league's elite, but also signaled the end of a decade-long era dominated by the Lakers and Boston Celtics. The Lakers entered the 1989 Finals as defending champions, having defeated the Pistons in a hard-fought 7-game series the previous year. However, the 1989 Finals were a different story. The Pistons, led by Isiah Thomas and known for their tough physical style of play, earning them the nickname Bad Boys, had matured into a cohesive, battle-tested unit. They were determined to not just compete but to dominate, and this time, they were ready for the challenge. The series began with the Pistons establishing their dominance early, winning Game 1 convincingly. Their aggressive defense, orchestrated by Defensive Player of the Year Dennis Rodman and enforcer Bill Lamere, suffocated the Lakers' offense. Magic Johnson, the heart and soul of the Lakers, suffered a hamstring injury in Game 2, severely limiting his effectiveness and highlighting the physical toll that Detroit's relentless style had on their opponents. By Game 3, the Pistons had complete control, with Joe Dumars emerging as the series MVP due to his stellar two-way play. The Lakers, who had epitomized the NBA's Showtime era with their fast-paced, high-scoring games, were reduced to a shadow of their former selves. With key players like Byron Scott also sidelined by injury, the Lakers were unable to mount any serious challenge. The Pistons capitalized, sweeping the series 4-0 and leaving no doubt about who was the best team in the league. The significance of this victory extended beyond the Pistons' first championship. It marked the end of the NBA's golden era dominated by the Lakers and Celtics. From 1980 to 1988, these two teams had won 8 of the 9 championships, with only the Philadelphia 76ers interrupting their reign in 1983. The finals had often been a stage for either Larry Bird or Magic Johnson, whose rivalry had captivated fans and elevated the NBA's profile. The Pistons' sweep in 1989 was a symbolic passing of the torch. It was not just a victory for Detroit, but a moment that heralded a new style of basketball, one defined by defense, physicality, and team-oriented play. The Bad Boys had dethroned the glamorous, star-driven Lakers, and in doing so, they changed the perception of what it took to win in the NBA. Their success paved the way for a new generation of teams that would prioritize defense and toughness, influencing the NBA's direction for years to come. Moreover, the Pistons' championship marked a shift in the league's power dynamics. It was the first time since the 1970s that a team outside the Lakers-Celtics 76ers triumvirate had won a title. This victory by the Pistons also signaled the decline of the Lakers and Celtics as perennial contenders, as both teams would soon face rebuilding phases. The 1989 finals were, therefore, more than just the end of a series, they were the end of an era. Chapter 5. Defending the Crown. The 1990 NBA season was a defining chapter in the league's history, as the Detroit Pistons defended their title and solidified their place as one of the most formidable teams of all time. Unlike the 1989 championship, which had seen the Pistons sweep the injury-plagued Lakers, the 1990 season presented new challenges, but it ultimately reinforced the dominance of the Bad Boys and their disruptive impact on the league. The Pistons' journey to the 1990 championship was a testament to their resilience, strategy, and the effectiveness of their hard-nosed physical style of play. While the 1989 victory had dethroned the Lakers and ended the Celtics-Lakers era, the 1990 season confirmed that the Pistons were not just a passing phase, but a new powerhouse in the NBA. The season was marked by grueling competition in the Eastern Conference, particularly from the up-and-coming Chicago Bulls, led by the young and explosive Michael Jordan. The Bulls, however, were not yet ready to seize the crown, as the Pistons' experience, depth, and defensive prowess proved too much for them to overcome. Detroit finished a regular season with a league-best 59-23 record, securing home court advantage throughout the playoffs. Their strategy revolved around their smothering defense, known as the Jordan rules, designed specifically to neutralize Michael Jordan's impact. The Pistons' approach involved aggressive double teams, forcing Jordan into tough shots and punishing him physically whenever he drove to the basket. This strategy not only frustrated Jordan, but also underscored the Pistons' philosophy to dominate their opponents mentally and physically. The Eastern Conference Finals between the Pistons and the Bulls was a rematch of the previous year, but with higher stakes. The series went to 7 games, with the Pistons eventually prevailing, once again denying Jordan his first finals appearance. This victory was crucial, as it demonstrated the Pistons' ability to withstand the pressure of a rising dynasty. Their victory was not just about skill, but also about the psychological edge they had over their rivals. In the NBA Finals, the Pistons faced the Portland Trail Blazers, a team that had surged to the top of the Western Conference. Led by Clyde Drexler, the Blazers were athletic, fast, and talented, posing a significant challenge to Detroit. However, the Pistons' experience and adaptability shone through. After losing Game 2 at home, the Pistons took control of the series in Portland, winning 3 straight games on the road to clinch their second consecutive championship. The Finals MVP was once again awarded to Isiah Thomas, whose leadership, clutch performances, and unwavering determination were central to Detroit's success. The Pistons' back-to-back titles in 1989 and 1990 had far-reaching implications for the NBA. Their style of play, characterized by physicality, relentless defense, and a team-first mentality, challenged the norms of the league. The Bad Boys were unapologetic in their approach, often blurring the line between aggressive defense and outright intimidation. This led to the perception of the Pistons as villains, a role they embraced. Their success forced the NBA to re-evaluate its rules, particularly those related to flagrant fouls and hand-checking, as the league sought to balance the physicality of the game with the need for player safety and offensive flow. Moreover, the Pistons' dominance altered how the game was viewed. In an era previously defined by the flash and flair of teams like the Lakers and Celtics, the Pistons introduced a grittier, more rugged brand of basketball that prioritized defense and toughness over highlight reel plays. This shift in playing style resonated with fans and players alike, signaling that winning at all costs, even if it meant playing the role of the villain, was a valid path to success. The 1990 season also marked the end of an era in its own right. The Pistons' reign would be short-lived, as the 1991 season saw the rise of Michael Jordan and the Chicago Bulls, who would go on to dominate the NBA for much of the next decade. However, the legacy of the 1990 Pistons remains intact. They were the team that proved grit and determination could conquer talent and flash. Their championships changed the NBA's competitive landscape, influencing how future teams would be built and how the game itself would evolve. Chapter 6. The 1991 Finals and the End of an Era. The 1991 Eastern Conference Finals loss to the Bulls marked the end of the Pistons' reign, but it also represented a turning point in Isiah Thomas's career. The Pistons' two championships in 1989 and 1990 were achieved through a style of play that was both effective and controversial. The Bad Boys were known for their physicality, their willingness to bend the rules, and their aggressive defense, which many considered dirty or unsportsmanlike. As the NBA sought to move away from this style of play, emphasizing offense and marketable stars like Jordan, Thomas and the Pistons found themselves increasingly marginalized. The 1991 Finals loss and the subsequent backlash contributed to the decline of the Pistons and the erosion of Thomas's status as one of the game's elite players. In the years that followed, the NBA implemented rule changes designed to limit the physicality that had defined the Pistons' play. The league introduced stricter penalties for flagrant fouls and hand-checking, shifting the balance of power toward teams that favored skill and speed over brute force. As a result, the game evolved away from the style that had brought Thomas and the Pistons so much success, further diminishing their legacy. Despite leading the Detroit Pistons to back-to-back championships in 1989 and 1990, Thomas's status as one of the greatest players of all time is often overlooked. Isiah Thomas remains one of the most accomplished and influential point guards in NBA history, yet his legacy remains mired in controversy and debate. The backlash he received during his career, much of which centered around his rivalry with Michael Jordan, played a significant role in diminishing his standing in the eyes of many fans and analysts. Chapter 7. The 1991 Eastern Conference Finals and the Handshake Snub. By 1991, the Chicago Bulls were poised to finally dethrone the Pistons, who had dominated the Eastern Conference for the previous 3 seasons. The Eastern Conference Finals that year saw the Bulls sweep the Pistons in 4 games, a decisive victory that marked the end of the Bad Boys era. However, what happened immediately after Game 4 became one of the most infamous moments in NBA history. As the final seconds ticked away, Isiah Thomas and several of his Pistons teammates walked off the court without shaking hands with the Bulls, a gesture seen as a breach of sportsmanship and respect. The handshake snub was widely condemned by fans, media, and players alike, with many viewing it as a classless act that tarnished the Pistons' legacy. For Thomas, the backlash was particularly harsh. He was already perceived as the leader of a team that many saw as villains, and this incident only reinforced that image. The handshake snub became a defining moment in his career, overshadowing his accomplishments and contributing to the narrative that Thomas was unworthy of the recognition afforded to other all-time greats. Thomas later explained that the walk-off was a reaction to how the Pistons had been treated by the Boston Celtics in 1988, when the Celtics had similarly exited the court after being defeated by Detroit in the Eastern Conference Finals. However, the explanation did little to quell the criticism. For many, the handshake snub confirmed their negative perception of Thomas and the Pistons, casting them as sore losers and further alienating them from the broader NBA community. Chapter 8. The Dream Team Omission. One of the most glaring slights in Isiah Thomas's career was his exclusion from the 1992 United States men's Olympic basketball team, famously known as the Dream Team. Widely regarded as the greatest basketball team ever assembled, the Dream Team featured NBA legends like Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, and Charles Barkley. However, Thomas, a Hall of Famer and a two-time NBA champion, was conspicuously absent. The omission was not due to a lack of talent or credentials. Thomas was undeniably one of the top players in the league. Instead, it was widely speculated that his exclusion was the result of personal vendettas and locker room politics. Michael Jordan, who had emerged as the league's biggest star, was rumored to have played a significant role in Thomas's exclusion. Jordan reportedly refused to play on the Dream Team if Thomas was included. The roots of this animosity can be traced back to the fierce rivalry between the Bulls and the Pistons, particularly during the late 1980s and early 1990s. The Pistons, known for their physical, aggressive style of play, had repeatedly denied Jordan and the Bulls a path to the NBA Finals, employing the infamous Jordan rules to neutralize his scoring ability. The animosity between Jordan and Thomas reached its peak during these battles, culminating in one of the most controversial moments in NBA history: the 1991 Eastern Conference Finals handshake snub. Chapter 9. Michael Jordan's dislike for Thomas. The rivalry between Isiah Thomas and Michael Jordan is one of the most bitter in NBA history. While many of the league's greatest rivalries are rooted in mutual respect, the relationship between Thomas and Jordan has always been defined by animosity. Jordan's disdain for Thomas was no secret, and it extended beyond their battles on the court. In the 2020 documentary The Last Dance, which chronicles Jordan's career in the Bulls dynasty, Jordan candidly expressed his dislike for Thomas, stating, "I hated them. And that hate carries even to this day." Jordan's comments in The Last Dance reignited discussions about the extent of his influence on Thomas's exclusion from the Dream Team. Jordan denied explicitly blackballing Thomas, but the consensus among many basketball insiders is that his aversion to Thomas played a significant role. The documentary also revisited the handshake snub, with Jordan dismissing Thomas's attempts to justify the walk-off as insincere. This ongoing tension between Jordan and Thomas has had a lasting impact on how Thomas is perceived. Jordan's unparalleled popularity and success have allowed him to shape the narrative, and for many fans, Thomas remains the villain of the story. Despite his on-court brilliance, Thomas's legacy is often overshadowed by his rivalry with Jordan and the negative perceptions that arose from it. Chapter 10. The unappreciated greatness of Isiah Thomas. Despite the controversies and the backlash, Isiah Thomas's greatness cannot be denied. He remains one of the few players in NBA history to lead his team to multiple championships without the benefit of another top 50 all-time player as a teammate. His ability to dominate games as a relatively undersized point guard, particularly in an era defined by big men and physical play, is a testament to his skill, leadership, and tenacity. Thomas's performances in the 1988 Finals, where he famously scored 25 points in a single quarter on a severely injured ankle, and his MVP performance in the 1990 Finals, are legendary moments that underscore his competitive fire. Chapter 11. The Legacy and Backlash. Yet, Thomas's legacy remains complicated. The combination of his on-court success and off-court controversies has left him as one of the most polarizing figures in NBA history. For some, he is a hero who overcame the odds to lead the Pistons to greatness. For others, he is a villain whose actions, both on and off the court, tarnished his achievements. The omission from the Dream Team, the handshake snub, and Jordan's public dislike have all contributed to a narrative that has often overshadowed his brilliance. In the end, Isiah Thomas is a victim of his own era. He played in a time when rivalries were fierce and the stakes were high, and he often found himself on the wrong side of history. While his accomplishments as a player are undeniable, the controversies that surrounded his career have hampered his recognition as one of the true greats of the game. Nonetheless, for those who witnessed his greatness firsthand, Isiah Thomas will always be remembered as one of the most skilled, determined, and influential players to ever play in the NBA. Subscribe, like, and share the content. Till our next one. That's it for now.